The town had always believed that evil arrived with warning signs, a scream in the night, a shattered window, a trail of blood. But sometimes, the most terrifying crimes begin with silence. On an ordinary Friday evening, 18-year-old Emily vanished without leaving behind a single clue. Her phone stopped responding at exactly 7:43 p.m. The security cameras along her usual route captured everyone except her. There were no signs of a struggle, no ransom demand, no eyewitness who could explain how a girl could simply disappear from a familiar street filled with people. As days turned into weeks, the investigation uncovered unsettling inconsistencies. Friends began changing their stories. Family members concealed painful secrets. Anonymous messages appeared online, hinting that someone knew exactly what had happened, but was enjoying watching everyone search in the dark. The deeper the detectives dug, the more the case stopped looking like a kidnapping and started resembling something far more disturbing. Every suspect seemed believable. Every alibi contained cracks. Every answer only created another question. Yet the greatest mystery was not where Emily had gone. It was whether she had ever truly been the person everyone believed she was. In a town where memories can deceive, guilt can masquerade as innocence, and the human mind can become its own prison, the search for one missing girl will unravel a web of lies that forces everyone to confront a terrifying truth. Sometimes the most dangerous place to hide is inside someone's mind. Chapter 1. The girl everyone knew. There were two kinds of people at Westbrook University. Those who blended into the crowd. And Emily Carter. Not because she was the prettiest. Not because she was the loudest. But because she had an unsettling way of making people feel seen. She remembered birthdays no one else cared about. She noticed when someone had been crying before class. She could sit beside a complete stranger in the cafeteria, ask one sincere question, and somehow become their friend before lunch was over. To most people, Emily was kindness in human form. But kindness had a strange habit of attracting people who needed saving. And people who enjoyed breaking things. "You're thinking too much again." Emily looked up from the notebook in her hands and smiled. "You always say that. And you're always guilty." Nathan Reyes slid into the seat across from her in the campus library. 22. Engineering student. Top of his class. Quiet enough that most professors forgot he was in the room until he earned the highest score on every exam. He wasn't socially awkward. He simply preferred listening over speaking. Emily often joked that Nathan knew everyone's secrets because people couldn't stand silence around him. Nathan shrugged. "What are you writing this time?" Emily quickly closed the notebook. "Nothing." "That's never true." She laughed. "It's just observations." "About people?" She nodded. "You know what's fascinating?" Nathan sighed. "Whenever you start a sentence like that, I regret asking." Emily ignored him. "Everyone wears two faces." "Only two." "The one they show everyone." She tapped the notebook. "And the one they think no one will ever discover." Nathan smiled. "You've been reading psychology books again. They're more honest than people." For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was comfortable. The kind of silence only lifelong friends could share. Across the campus courtyard, another pair of eyes watched them. Liam Torres. Criminal psychology major. Charismatic. Confident. The kind of student professors trusted immediately. The kind classmates naturally followed. If Nathan disappeared into the background, Liam controlled every room he entered. He smiled as Emily waved at him from across the lawn. He waved back. The smile never reached his eyes. Meanwhile, Professor Adrian Velasco erased the classroom whiteboard after his afternoon lecture. His students admired him. Parents praised him. The university considered him one of its brightest minds. He specialized in criminal behavior. His lectures were always full. His office door was always open. He had an answer for every question. Every question. Except one. The framed family photograph on his desk remained face down. As always, Detective Isabel Cruz hated missing person cases. People assumed homicide investigations were worse. They weren't. Murders eventually told the truth. Missing people kept everyone alive with false hope. For 17 years, Isabel had learned one painful lesson. The first 48 hours determined almost everything. Find them quickly. Or prepare to chase ghosts. She didn't know it yet. By tomorrow morning, Westbrook would give her the most complicated case of her career. That evening, rain threatened the city but never came. Emily left the university at exactly 6:58 p.m. She texted Nathan. "Home soon. Don't forget tomorrow's coffee, ****. Nathan replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Emily rolled her eyes. One day he'll actually type a sentence, she muttered. She slipped her phone into her pocket and started walking toward the old pedestrian bridge that connected the university to the residential district. The bridge was busy. Students. Office workers. Street vendors. Cyclists. Normal. Everything looked normal. A man selling flowers smiled at her. She smiled back. A little girl accidentally dropped her balloon. Emily chased it down before it floated into traffic and handed it back. The girl's mother thanked her. Emily continued walking. 37 people crossed that bridge between 7:18 and 7:26 that evening. Later, police would interview every one of them. None remembered seeing anything unusual. At 7:31 p.m., Emily received one final notification. Unknown number ***. Asterisk, do you still believe everyone has only two faces? Asterisk. She stopped walking. Her heartbeat quickened. She stared at the message. Another vibration. Before she could open it, the screen went black. Battery dead. Emily sighed. I really should have charged it. She looked around. The bridge was strangely quiet now. Or perhaps she had only just noticed the silence. Somewhere behind her. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Not trying to hide. Not trying to hurry. She turned. No one. Only the evening wind brushing against the steel railings. Emily laughed nervously at herself. You're imagining things. She continued walking. The security camera at the northern end of the bridge captured her taking 12 more steps. She never appeared in another frame. No scream. No struggle. No witnesses. Just gone. The following morning, her bed had not been slept in. Her parents reported her missing at 8:14 a.m. By noon, the entire city knew the name Emily Carter. Within a week, everyone would become a suspect. Chapter 2. The first 48 hours. Detective Isabel Cruz arrived at the Carter residence at 8:46 a.m. The house was too quiet. In her experience, grief came in two forms. There were families who screamed. And there were families who whispered. The whispers were always harder to read. Emily's mother, Sarah Carter, sat motionless on the living room sofa, clutching her daughter's favorite knitted cardigan as if it still carried her warmth. Her eyes were swollen from crying, yet she stared blankly at the front door, refusing to believe Emily wouldn't walk through it at any moment. Her father, Daniel Carter, paced the room relentlessly. She always tells us where she's going, he repeated for what must have been the 10th time. She answers every call. This isn't like her. Detective Cruz simply listened. Panic often hid details. People remembered more when they weren't interrupted. When was the last time either of you saw Emily? she finally asked. Yesterday morning, Sarah answered softly. She left for class around 8. Was anything unusual? Both parents shook their heads. No arguments? No. No recent threats? Daniel hesitated. None that we know of. That answer lingered in Isabel's mind. That we know of. It was amazing how often parents believed they knew everything about their children. They rarely did. Across town, Nathan Reyes had not slept. He had called Emily 23 times. Each call went directly to voicemail. His coffee sat untouched on his kitchen table. Emily never missed coffee on Saturdays. Never. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Nathan answered immediately. Emily. Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Steady. Before Nathan could speak again, the caller disconnected. He stared at the screen. No caller ID. No number to trace. Just unknown. A chill crawled up his spine. By noon, Westbrook University had become a spectacle. News vans lined the streets. Students gathered in anxious clusters. Rumors spread faster than facts. I heard she ran away. My cousin said someone saw a black van. They found blood. No, they didn't. My roommate said. Nobody knew anything. Yet everyone claimed they did. Professor Adrian Velasco stood before his afternoon class. Half the seats were empty. No one paid attention. He closed his lecture notes. Today, he said calmly, we're not discussing criminal profiling. The room fell silent. We're discussing memory. Several students exchanged puzzled looks. Professor Velasco continued. Witnesses often believe they saw something because their brains create complete stories from incomplete information. He paused. If 10 people witness the same event, you'll hear 10 different versions. A student raised her hand. Professor, do you think Emily was kidnapped? He looked at her for several seconds. I think. People disappear long before they are officially reported missing. The classroom became eerily quiet. What do you mean? He smiled faintly. Sometimes emotionally. Sometimes mentally. And sometimes everyone simply fails to notice. Outside the lecture hall, Liam Torres watched reporters swarm the campus entrance. He hated cameras. Not because they frightened him. Because cameras remembered everything. His phone vibrated. Mom. He declined the call. Again. Then slipped his phone into his pocket. He noticed Detective Cruz approaching the administration building. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Isabel smiled politely. Liam smiled back. Neither trusted the other. By late afternoon, the investigation had already uncovered its first inconsistency. Emily's phone had stopped transmitting a signal near Hawthorne Bridge at exactly 7:31 p.m. Security footage showed her entering the bridge. But there was no footage of her leaving. The bridge had 4 surveillance cameras. Camera 1 captured her approaching. Camera 2 recorded a delivery truck passing. Camera 3 went black for exactly 42 seconds. Camera 4 never captured Emily at all. Equipment failure? Asked Officer Morales. The technician shook his head. No. What then? The footage wasn't lost. He enlarged the timeline. It was deleted. The room fell silent. Someone accessed the city's surveillance network. The technician nodded. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. Detective Cruz crossed her arms. This wasn't random. No. It was planned. That evening, volunteers searched the river beneath Hawthorne Bridge. Divers found nothing. No phone. No bag. No clothing. Nothing. It was as though Emily had dissolved into thin air. The media loved that phrase. The girl who vanished into thin air. Detective crews hated it. People didn't vanish. People lied. Evidence was hidden. Someone always knew more than they admitted. The challenge was discovering who broke first. At 9:18 p.m., the forensic team completed its examination of Emily's dormitory locker. Inside were textbooks, a jacket, a nearly finished sketchbook, and the black notebook Nathan had seen in the library. The one Emily called her observations. Detective crews opened it carefully. Every page contained handwritten descriptions of people. Their habits. Their expressions. Their fears. She had written about classmates. Professors. Neighbors. Cashiers. Strangers on buses. Most entries were harmless. Some were remarkably accurate. Then she reached the final page. Unlike the others, it wasn't a description. It was a single sentence written in shaky handwriting. If anything happens to me, it's because someone realized I knew who they really were. No name. No explanation. Only that sentence. Detective crews slowly closed the notebook. For the first time since taking the case, she stopped thinking this was an ordinary missing person investigation. Someone hadn't just taken Emily Carter. Someone had been afraid of what she had discovered. And somewhere in Westbrook, that person had just learned the notebook was now in police hands. Chapter 4. The perfect mask. By Monday morning, Westbrook no longer felt like a university. It felt like a crime scene. Television vans occupied the front entrance. Students whispered in every hallway. Reporters waited outside classrooms, hoping someone would say something, anything, that could become tomorrow's headline. People no longer asked, where is Emily? Instead, they asked, who took her? And everyone seemed to have an answer. Detective Isabel Cruz stood before the investigation board. Emily's photograph occupied the center. Around it were dozens of names connected by colored strings. Nathan Reyes. Liam Torres. Professor Adrian Velasco. Emily's classmates. Neighbors. A flower vendor near Hawthorne Bridge. A rideshare driver. Even the maintenance technician responsible for the surveillance cameras. Each person had been interviewed. Each interview created more questions than answers. Officer Morales entered carrying a folder. We finished reading Emily's notebook. What did you find? He hesitated. She wasn't just writing observations. What do you mean? He laid several pages across the table. Every page described someone's habits. One entry read, "He smiles whenever he's uncomfortable, not when he's happy." Another. She apologizes before anyone blames her. That usually means she's hiding something. Another. He never looks people directly in the eyes when discussing the past. Isabel continued reading. Emily wasn't writing opinions. She was studying behavior. Almost like a profiler. What was she studying? Isabel asked. Morales handed her another page. At the top, Emily had written in large letters, "Masks." Below it, "The most dangerous people aren't violent. They're ordinary. They're trusted. They become whatever everyone needs them to be." Isabel slowly closed the notebook. Emily hadn't been obsessed with crime. She'd been obsessed with people. Nathan sat alone in his apartment. The silence was unbearable. Emily's favorite mug still sat on the kitchen shelf. He couldn't bring himself to move it. His phone buzzed. Another unknown message. This time it contained only a photograph. It showed Emily sitting in the campus library 3 weeks earlier. She was writing in her notebook. Someone had taken the picture from behind a bookshelf. Watching her, Nathan's heart pounded. Whoever sent it had been following Emily long before she disappeared. He immediately forwarded the image to Detective Cruz. Meanwhile, Professor Adrian Velasco continued teaching as though nothing had happened. Today's lecture was entitled, "The Psychology of Deception." The classroom was full. Everyone wanted to hear what the renowned criminologist had to say. He stood before the class, hands folded behind his back. "Tell me," he began. "If a person lies every day for 10 years, at what point does the lie become their identity?" No one answered. He smiled. Most people assume psychopaths are easy to recognize. He shook his head. They're often generous, helpful, charming, the best neighbors, the best co-workers, the best teachers. His eyes drifted toward the window. The perfect disguise isn't pretending to be someone else. It's becoming exactly who everyone expects. The room fell silent. Even the students stopped taking notes. After class, Detective Cruz approached him. "I'd like to ask you a few questions." "Of course. You seem unusually interested in Emily's case." "I taught her." "And?" Velasco looked toward the empty hallway. She asked difficult questions. "What kind?" "The kind most people avoid." "Such as?" He smiled faintly. "Can someone manipulate another person's memory without them realizing it?" Isabel frowned. "What did you tell her?" "The truth." "And what was that?" "Yes." Across campus, Liam Torres stood outside the student center, smoking despite the university's strict ban. He watched 2 detectives enter the administration building. His phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "You're next." He looked around immediately. Students walked past laughing. Nothing seemed unusual. Then another message arrived. She figured it out. Liam deleted both messages. For the first time in years. He looked afraid. That evening, Detective Cruz received permission to examine Emily's laptop. The forensic unit had finally bypassed the password. Most files were ordinary. Class notes, assignments, photographs, music playlists. Then Officer Morales pointed to a folder hidden deep within the hard drive. Its name was simple. Masks. "It was encrypted," he said. "It took us 12 hours." Isabel nodded. "Open it." The folder contained dozens of subfolders. Each one was named after a person. Friends. Professors. Students. Neighbors. Every folder contained observations, timelines, photographs, and behavioral notes. Emily had quietly documented the people around her for nearly 2 years. Then they reached the final folder. Unlike the others, it had no name. Only a symbol. Inside was a single image. A group photograph from the university's psychology department taken 6 months earlier. 23 people stood smiling for the camera. One face had been carefully scratched away. Not blurred. Not cropped. Deliberately erased. On the back of the printed photograph, Emily had written 3 words. "They know." Nothing else. No explanation. No initials. No clues. Detective Cruz stared at the missing face. Someone had wanted that identity hidden. But the question that haunted her wasn't who had erased it. It was whether Emily had done it herself. Or whether someone had erased the face after she disappeared. #Chapter 5. #The Hunter. Detective Isabel Cruz had spent 18 years solving crimes. She trusted fingerprints, DNA, surveillance footage, witness statements. Evidence never had emotions. People did. And people lied. Yet for the first time in her career, the evidence itself seemed to be lying. The erased face from Emily's photograph became the investigation's obsession. Forensic technicians examined every pixel, every scratch, every layer of the image. Finally, just after midnight, Officer Morales hurried into Isabel's office. "We recovered something." He placed the restored photograph on the desk. The scratched-out face had been partially reconstructed. Not enough for a positive identification, but enough to reveal one unmistakable detail. The person wore a university faculty identification lanyard. "Their staff," Morales said. "Not a student." Isabel stared at the photograph. The list of suspects had just become much smaller. News of Emily's disappearance continued to dominate every television station. The public wanted answers. Social media wanted someone to blame. That someone became Nathan Reyes. A blurry security image surfaced online showing a man resembling Nathan walking toward Hawthorne Bridge shortly before Emily disappeared. The image spread across the country within hours. Asterisk, obsessed friend questioned. Asterisk. Asterisk, police close in. Asterisk. Asterisk, did her closest friend snap? Asterisk. Nathan couldn't leave his apartment without cameras following him. He turned off his phone. Closed the curtains. Stopped answering the door. His world shrank to four walls. Detective Cruz wasn't convinced. "People always suspect the closest person first," Officer Morales said. "They're usually right." "Usually," Isabel replied. "But not always." She had reviewed Nathan's interview 6 times. His grief felt genuine. His panic wasn't rehearsed. If he was acting, he deserved an Academy Award. Across town, Liam Torres entered an abandoned parking garage. He looked over his shoulder repeatedly before climbing to the 3rd level. He stopped beside an old sedan. No one inside. Only an envelope resting on the hood. He opened it. Inside were 3 photographs. The first showed him entering the university library. The second showed him speaking with Emily 3 days before she disappeared. The third made his blood run cold. It showed Liam standing outside Emily's apartment building. At 11:17 p.m. 2 nights before she vanished. On the back was a handwritten message. "You should have walked away." Liam crushed the photographs in his fist. "For God's sake," he whispered. "Who are you?" His voice echoed through the empty garage. Only silence answered. Professor Adrian Velasco unlocked his office early the next morning. Everything appeared normal. His books remained neatly arranged. His computer untouched. The family photograph on his desk still faced downward. Then he noticed something. A single sheet of paper lay perfectly centered on his desk. He hadn't left it there. He picked it up. Only one sentence was typed across the page. She trusted the wrong professor. For the first time in years. Adrian Velasco's hands trembled. The police digital forensics unit finally finished recovering deleted files from Emily's laptop. Among hundreds of ordinary documents was a hidden audio recording. Date: 9 days before the disappearance. The recording began with footsteps. Traffic. Coffee cups clinking. Emily's voice. "I don't think anyone's following me anymore." Another voice answered. It was male. Calm. Educated. "If you're right, then you're already in danger." Emily laughed nervously. "You sound paranoid." "No." A pause. I've seen what happens when people ask too many questions. More footsteps. Then Emily spoke again. I think I know who it is. The man's breathing changed. Don't say the name. Why? Because if you're right, the moment you say it out loud, you won't live long enough to prove it. The recording ended abruptly. The speaker's identity couldn't be determined. There wasn't enough audio. But one thing was certain. Emily had identified someone. Someone dangerous enough that another person feared even speaking the name. By evening, the investigation reached a breaking point. A judge approved search warrants. Nathan's apartment. Liam's dormitory. Professor Velasco's office. Police searched for hours. Nathan's apartment revealed nothing except books, unfinished engineering projects, and dozens of photographs of Emily from birthdays, graduation ceremonies, and group outings. The media immediately called them obsessive. Detective crews called them memories. Liam's room contained cash, burner phones, and receipts from places he had never mentioned during questioning. Suspicious. But not criminal. Professor Velasco's office was immaculate. Too immaculate. Every drawer organized. Every file labeled. Everything exactly where it belonged. People rarely lived that neatly. It felt performed. As detectives prepared to leave, Isabel noticed something unusual. The family photograph on Velasco's desk. Face down. She picked it up. The glass frame was heavier than expected. She removed the backing. Hidden inside, behind the photograph, was a small flash drive. No labels. No markings. Just black plastic. Velasco froze. What is that? Officer Morales asked. For the first time since meeting him. Professor Velasco had no answer. The flash drive required military-grade encryption to access. Hours later, the cybercrime unit succeeded. There was only one file. A video. The timestamp showed it had been recorded the day before Emily disappeared. The screen flickered. Emily appeared. She looked exhausted. She checked over her shoulder several times before speaking directly into the camera. If you're watching this, something has already happened to me. She swallowed hard. I've been wrong about a lot of people. But I was right about one. Tears welled in her eyes. I finally know who wears the perfect mask. The room fell silent. Emily reached toward the camera. I copied everything. A loud bang echoed somewhere behind her. Emily turned suddenly. Fear flooded her face. They're here. The screen went black. No ending. No attacker. No explanation. Just darkness. Detective crews stared at the frozen frame. Emily had been hunted. Not because of who she was, but because of what she knew. And somewhere in Westbrook, the hunter now knew the police were only one step behind. Chapter 6. Hashtag the devil you trust. The video changed everything. For the first time since Emily disappeared, Detective Isabel Cruz wasn't searching for a missing person. She was hunting someone who had anticipated every move the police would make. Someone intelligent. Patient. Disciplined. Someone who never acted out of panic. Someone who planned. By sunrise, a special task force had been assembled. Every digital device recovered from Emily's apartment, the university, and the suspects was re-examined. Every phone call. Every deleted message. Every surveillance clip. Every second mattered. Officer Morales entered Isabel's office carrying a thick folder. You need to see this. What is it? Emily wasn't collecting evidence against one person. He laid several photographs across the desk. She was mapping relationships. Each photograph was connected with handwritten arrows. Nathan. Liam. Professor Velasco. Students. Faculty. Campus security. Maintenance workers. Even Detective Cruz herself appeared in one corner. Isabel frowned. Why am I here? Morales pointed to Emily's notes. Trust is predictable. Predictability is exploitable, ***. Another line read. The strongest weapon isn't violence. It's making good people suspect each other, ***. Isabel slowly looked up. She wasn't tracking a killer. She was tracking manipulation. Nathan Reyes had spent 36 hours in an interrogation room. The detectives asked the same questions. Where were you? Why didn't you tell us Emily had been frightened? Why did you delete messages? Nathan answered every one. Again. And again. The deleted messages weren't deleted at all. Emily had asked him to erase their conversation after she admitted someone had been following her. He obeyed. He regretted it every day since. Detective Cruz watched him through the one-way mirror. Officer Morales sighed. If he's innocent, he's living a nightmare. No, Isabel replied quietly. If he's innocent, someone designed this nightmare for him. Professor Adrian Velasco requested a private meeting with Detective Cruz. No lawyers. No officers. Just the two of them. He sat across from her in interview room 3. For several moments, neither spoke. Finally, Velasco broke the silence. You found the flash drive. Yes. You think it belongs to me. It was hidden in your office. He nodded. I hid it. Isabel leaned forward. Why? To keep it away from the person looking for it. She didn't blink. You expect me to believe that? No. I expect you to doubt everything. He folded his hands. Emily came to me 3 weeks before she disappeared. What did she want? She believed someone at the university was psychologically manipulating students. What kind of manipulation? Gaslighting. Isolation. Fear. Small lies repeated until people questioned their own memories. Isabel remained expressionless. And did you believe her? I told her she needed proof. He lowered his eyes. She found it. Meanwhile, Liam Torres had vanished. His dorm room was empty. His phone had been discarded in a trash bin 20 kilometers outside the city. His bank accounts had not been touched. No transportation records. No passport activity. It was as if he had evaporated. The media immediately declared him the prime suspect. Detective Cruz disagreed. People who plan disappearances prepare. Liam left everything behind. So either he was taken, or he's running from the same person Emily was. Late that evening, Isabel received an anonymous email. No sender. No subject. Only a single attachment. A floor plan. An abandoned psychiatric hospital on the outskirts of Westbrook. Below the map was one sentence. You've been looking in the wrong place. Officer Morales frowned. It could be a trap. It probably is. Then we shouldn't go. Isabel stood and reached for her jacket. If it's a trap, it's the first real lead we've had. The hospital had been abandoned for nearly 20 years. Its windows were shattered. The hallways smelled of mold and rust. Every footstep echoed through the darkness. The tactical team searched room by room. Nothing. Empty offices. Broken furniture. Dust untouched for years. Then, Officer Morales stopped. Detective. A wheelchair sat in the middle of the corridor. Clean. Unlike everything else. Someone had placed it there recently. Beside it lay a portable audio recorder. Isabel pressed play. Emily's voice filled the hallway. "If you're hearing this, I'm already gone." Static. Then. "No." A man's voice interrupted. Calm. Measured. So predictable. The recording continued. Emily sounded frightened. "You'll never get away with this. I already have. You can't fool everyone." A soft chuckle. "I don't need to. I only need to make them doubt each other." Silence. Then footsteps. A door closing. The recording ended. Officer Morales looked around nervously. "We're not alone." A loud crash echoed from the second floor. The tactical team rushed upstairs. One officer shouted. "Movement." A figure sprinted through the corridor. Black hood. Face hidden. The chase began. The stranger moved through the building with uncanny familiarity, slipping through collapsed hallways and narrow staircases. Isabel pursued relentlessly. The figure burst through a fire exit and into the surrounding woods. She followed. Branches whipped across her face. She could hear the stranger only a few meters ahead. Then. Silence. Gone. She emerged into a clearing. No footprints. No movement. Only one object resting on a fallen tree. Emily's notebook. The original. Not the copy found in her apartment. Isabel carefully opened it. Every page was blank. Except the last. Written in fresh black ink were 6 words. "The devil is the one you trust." Before anyone could react, a scream erupted from inside the hospital. The officers raced back. Officer Morales stood frozen in the corridor. There. At the end of the hallway. A steel door slowly swung open. Inside sat a young woman, bound to a chair. Weak. Pale. Barely conscious. Her hair covered most of her face. Isabel rushed forward and knelt beside her. "Emily." The young woman slowly lifted her head. It wasn't Emily. It was another missing student. A student who had disappeared. 3 years earlier. She stared at Isabel with hollow eyes. Her lips trembled as she whispered. "She tried to save us." A tear rolled down her cheek. "He's already chosen the next one." Chapter 7. The girl who refused to forget. The rescued student's name was Hannah Brooks. She had disappeared 3 years earlier. 3 years. 3 years of missing person posters. 3 years of unanswered prayers. 3 years of police believing she was dead. Yet there she was, alive, but haunted. Doctors said Hannah was physically stable. Psychologists weren't so optimistic. She startled at every sound. She refused to look into mirrors. She asked permission before drinking water. Most disturbing of all. She struggled to distinguish memories from dreams. Detective Isabel Cruz waited until the hospital room was empty before sitting beside her. "Hannah." The young woman stared out the window. "I can't remember everything." "You don't have to. I remember pieces." "What kind of pieces?" Hannah closed her eyes. A voice. A clock ticking. The smell of old books. And. She stopped. And what? The words. What words? Hannah looked directly at Isabel. "He always said the same thing. People don't remember the truth. They remember the story they tell themselves." Isabel's heartbeat quickened. She had heard those words before. Not from Hannah. From someone else. Back at headquarters, Isabel reopened every interview transcript. She searched for one sentence. One phrase. One habit. Hours later, she found it. Professor Adrian Velasco. During his first interview. Memory isn't a recording. It's a reconstruction. She found another. A guest lecture from 2 years earlier. People rarely remember what happened. They remember what makes sense. Another. An academic article. Truth is fragile. Memory is negotiable. The language was almost identical. Too identical. Yet something felt wrong. Velasco had spoken openly. Publicly. If he were the mastermind, why repeat the same philosophy where everyone could hear it? No. Someone else had learned from him. Someone who had taken theory and turned it into practice. Officer Morales entered Isabel's office carrying a dusty storage box recovered from the abandoned hospital. It was hidden beneath a loose floorboard. Inside were dozens of cassette tapes, patient files, handwritten notes, and a leather-bound journal. The first page bore a familiar signature. Dr. Adrian Velasco. Isabel frowned. His journal. She opened it. The entries dated back 24 years. At first, they described ordinary psychological research. Then the tone changed. One entry read, "Today I discovered someone accessing my research without permission." Another, "They don't care about ethics." Another, "They're fascinated by control, not healing." The final complete entry stopped Isabel cold. "If anything happens to me, it won't be because of my research. It will be because someone wants to continue it." She turned the page. Blank. The rest of the journal had been torn out. "Detective." Officer Morales rushed into the room. "We found fingerprints on the journal." "Velasco's?" "Yes." "And another set." "Whose?" Morales hesitated. "They belong to someone already in our investigation." "Who?" "Liam Torres." The revelation made no sense. Liam had never worked with Professor Velasco. According to university records, they had met only once. Yet his fingerprints were inside a journal written decades before he became a student. Unless the journal hadn't been hidden for decades. Someone had handled it recently. Someone wanted the police to find it. That evening, Liam called Detective Cruz from a pay phone. His voice was shaking. "You have to listen." "Where are you?" "It doesn't matter. It matters if I want to keep you alive. I'm already dead if he finds me." "Liam, who?" A long silence. Finally. "I lied. I knew Emily better than I admitted." Isabel remained silent. "She asked me to help her." "Help her do what?" "Watch people." "Who?" "Faculty." "Why?" "Because she thought someone was choosing students." "For what?" Another pause. "Experiments." Liam's breathing became uneven. Emily found a pattern. "What pattern?" "Every victim was observant. Curious. Independent. They weren't random. They noticed things other people ignored." Emily said. His voice cracked. Emily said the person wasn't looking for obedient victims. He was looking for difficult ones. Someone challenged him. Someone worth breaking. "Who is he?" Isabel demanded. "I never saw his face." "You expect me to believe that?" "I swear." "Then how do you know he exists?" "Because." Liam whispered. "I was one of his students." The line went dead. Police traced the call. Too late. The pay phone stood empty. Only one item remained in the booth. A university identification card. Liam's. Its back had been smeared with fresh blood. No body. No struggle. Just blood. Near midnight, forensic analysts completed their examination of Emily's recovered notebook. Until now, everyone had focused on the writing. No one had examined the paper itself. Under ultraviolet light, hidden impressions appeared, marks left by pressure from pages that had once been written above them. Technicians carefully reconstructed the text. It wasn't a diary. It wasn't observations. It was a list. 23 names. Some crossed out. Some circled. One marked with a star. At the very top, Emily had written, "These are not the victims. These are the people being tested." Beneath the final name was one sentence, pressed so hard into the paper that it nearly tore through. "The last test is betrayal." Detective Isabel Cruz slowly looked up from the notebook. For weeks, she had believed Emily was running from a predator. Now she understood the horrifying truth. Emily had never been the only target. She had simply been the first to realize that the game had already begun. And somewhere, the person who designed that game was watching every move the police made. Waiting for the final test. Chapter 8. The last face. The storm arrived just before dawn. Rain pounded against the windows of Westbrook Police Headquarters as Detective Isabel Cruz stared at Emily's notebook one final time. 23 names. 23 people. Not victims. Subjects. She read the list again. Then something caught her eye. One name had never been crossed out. Not Nathan. Not Liam. Not Professor Adrian Velasco. It was Emily Carter. For weeks, Isabel had assumed Emily had written the list to identify other targets. She had been wrong. Emily had been documenting the order of the experiments. She knew. She was the final one. Officer Morales rushed into the office. "We found Liam." "Alive?" Morales lowered his head. He was barely conscious. He kept repeating one sentence. "What sentence?" "The library." She said the answers were in the library. The university library had been closed since Emily disappeared. Detectives searched every floor. Nothing. Then Nathan stopped in front of a bookshelf Emily used almost every day. She always complained about this shelf. "Why?" Isabel asked. "It was crooked." Officer Morales frowned. "It isn't crooked." Nathan smiled sadly. "Exactly. The shelf had been repaired. Recently. The detectives pulled it away from the wall. Behind it was a narrow steel door. The hidden room was unlike anything they expected. Computer monitors lined the walls. Hundreds of video recordings. Thousands of photographs. Audio files. Behavioral profiles. Every missing student. Every suspect. Every interview. Every conversation. Someone had been watching the university for years. On the largest monitor, a single video began playing automatically. Emily appeared on the screen. She looked directly into the camera. "If you found this room." Then Detective Cruz was smarter than he expected. She smiled weakly. "I couldn't stop him. But maybe you still can." The screen flickered. Another figure entered the frame. Only a silhouette. A calm voice echoed through the speakers. "You always notice too much, Emily." A slow clap echoed through the room. The detective spun around. Standing in the doorway was Professor Adrian Velasco. Officer Morales raised his weapon. "Don't move." Velasco lifted both hands. "I told you not to trust appearances." Before anyone could react, another voice came from behind the detectives. "No. He told you the truth." Detective Cruz turned. The university's quiet maintenance supervisor stepped from the shadows. "Samuel Reed." The man almost no one noticed. He repaired doors, changed light bulbs, maintained security cameras. He had appeared throughout the investigation. Always in the background. Always overlooked. He smiled. That's the problem with intelligent people. They look for monsters. They never notice ordinary men. Nathan stared in disbelief. You. Samuel nodded. I deleted the bridge footage. I repaired the library shelf. I entered every building without suspicion. People don't question maintenance workers. They hand us the keys. He laughed softly. My greatest disguise wasn't wearing a mask. It was becoming invisible. Professor Velasco stepped forward. I tried to stop him. Samuel looked at him almost affectionately. You inspired me. I wrote theories. Velasco's voice shook. You twisted them. You taught that memory could be manipulated. I merely proved it. Samuel smiled. You spent your career asking whether it was possible. I wanted to know how far it could go. Detective Cruz slowly lowered her flashlight. So Emily discovered you. Yes. And Hannah. Yes. The others? Samuel's smile disappeared. They were never meant to die. They simply refused to survive. Silence filled the room. Nathan clenched his fists. You call that an experiment? Samuel looked at him calmly. No. I call it curiosity. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed from a nearby hallway. Detective. Everyone froze. Isabel turned toward the sound. There, weak but standing, was Emily. Thin. Bruised. Exhausted. Alive. Samuel's expression changed for the first time. Not fear. Surprise. Emily smiled faintly. You forgot one thing. Samuel tilted his head. And what's that? You spent years studying how people break. She took another step. But you never learned how they fight. Samuel lunged toward Emily. A gunshot shattered the silence. Officer Morales fired. The bullet struck Samuel in the shoulder. He stumbled backward, crashing into the bank of monitors. Screens exploded into darkness. Nathan rushed forward and pulled Emily to safety. The tactical team stormed the room. Within seconds, Samuel Reed was handcuffed. For the first time in years. The Invisible Man had nowhere left to hide. Weeks later, Westbrook University reopened. Professor Velasco resigned, accepting responsibility for failing to report the theft of his research years earlier. Liam survived and testified against Samuel, revealing everything he had witnessed. Hannah began rebuilding a life that had been stolen from her. Nathan visited Emily every day during her recovery. Neither spoke much. They didn't need to. Some wounds healed in silence. Others never truly healed at all. On a quiet autumn afternoon, Detective Isabel Cruz returned Emily's notebook. Emily opened it to the first page. Beneath her old words. Asterisk, everyone wears two faces. Asterisk. She wrote one final sentence. The most dangerous mask is the one no one thinks to look behind. She closed the notebook. Outside the hospital window, students crossed the campus, laughing as if nothing had happened. Life had moved on. But Emily knew better. Evil did not always announce itself. Sometimes it smiled. Sometimes it helped. Sometimes it held the door open for you. And sometimes it was the person everyone had forgotten was even there. The rain began to fall again. For the first time since the nightmare began, Emily stepped outside, lifted her face toward the sky, and breathed. She was no longer the girl who disappeared. She was the girl who remembered. The end.